So that for me is probably the best part of this diet at the moment so far, is to be able to, getting emotional, is to be able to get back to doing that. So yeah, not every day is awesome, but some days are. Hi there, it has been 9.5 months since I started eating a predominantly carnivore diet, animal-based diet, and I thought it was about time I did an update. My name is Sue. If you haven't been here before, welcome to my channel. I talk about the carnivore diet and other things to do with health when I get the time. And so today I thought I'd dive into a little bit of my history that I've not really talked about before, I don't think. What's kind of led me to where I was before I started on carnivore, and just do a bit of update as to where I am now, okay, and some goals I have for this year. So I used to be a real exercise junkie for years and years and years. I started exercising lots when I was 30, and that was after, when I was young, I didn't really do much. I did stuff, but not purposely exercise. I didn't play sport, didn't like competing. Was always told I couldn't run. That was by my mother. And so, but when I was 30, I quit smoking. I was in a really bad way with my health, very overweight, much more than I am now. And so I quit smoking, started exercising, and ultimately lost 45 kilos over 4 years, which is, I don't know, 100 odd pound, around about. So a lot of weight. So I went from a size 24 down to about a size 8 at my smallest. So that was when I started exercising, and I became really addicted. Like, I quit smoking, took up drinking, and exercise. So that's the truth. So the exercise became a real addiction for me, and for quite a long time I was exercising up to 4 or 5 hours a day, doing all sorts. I started off doing aerobics, and then just at home with the TV, there was a program called Aerobics Hostel, and which I'm currently using again on YouTube. But that was how I started, and then I went from that to doing that plus walking, plus swimming, plus riding my push bike, plus doing aqua aerobics and all of these other different things. Eventually, once I was in my early 40s, when we had shifted back to New Zealand the last time we lived here, I was doing some little triathlons, and I'd never done anything like that before. And the first year that I did them, I just walked the run part, and then what actually happened was that I went from a vegetarian diet back to eating meat, and all of a sudden I felt like I could run. After all these years of walking and doing all this other exercise, I still never felt like I could run, because I always felt like my legs were really, the muscles were tired in my legs, even when I was a kid. And so all of a sudden that changed. And now, knowing what I know about the carnivore diet, it kind of makes sense. Also, the fact that when I went back to eating meat, I couldn't get enough of it for probably the first year, 18 months. I was eating a lot of meat. And so I started running. And so I carried on with that until I was 49. So probably from about 42 or 43, I think, when I started running. Must have been about 42, and right through until I was about 49. And so when I was 49, I was in Western Australia, and I was finding that if I went for a run in the morning, it would wipe me out for the whole day. I just really felt bad. So I stopped running and just went back to walking again. So I was still exercising and still walking, still doing some weight training stuff, still used to go to the gym and all that sort of thing when we went back to Queensland. And then when we shifted back to New Zealand, we've been back here, it'll be 8 years in July. And when we shifted back to New Zealand, it was the July that we moved back, and then that September I opened my business in town, in some rooms that I'd been in the last time I was here, I forgot that they had a really bad mold problem. And it wasn't until I'd kind of arranged it all and arranged to move in and was kind of in there, and I was like, oh, that's right, it's mold. So I kind of tried to ignore it, use lots of essential oils, of course I diffuse those all the time, and kind of put it out of my mind. But by the time I'd been in there about 4 years, it started to become apparent that the mold was getting me. I had a cough for about a year that just wouldn't quit. And so after 4.5 years, I made the decision to move my business home, and I've been here ever since. So it took a while, quite a while, probably 18 months, 2 years at least, to feel like I'd got over that mold issue. Now, I knew that it was in my lungs because it was causing the cough, but I didn't realise how many other things that mold had potentially contributed to. My immune system was really low, and I ended up having to do a lot of work and going and having acupuncture weekly for quite a long time to build my immune system back up, because I was just getting sick all the time. And one of the things that I realised that it probably contributed to as well was the first year that I was in those rooms. So I moved in September, well, not that Christmas, but the following Christmas. It felt like I gained over 15 kilos, really, really quickly. It seemed like it was within a matter of just a handful of weeks. That just went on really fast. And I kind of didn't really know what had happened. At that stage, I was still walking in the mornings. But this weight just piled on, and I had a lot of skin issues as well, like funny rashes on my back and on my these lump things that came up on my shins and stuff, and didn't really put it all together until after I'd moved home. Really realised what happened was actually a friend sent me an article written by a friend who's in Australia, who's a naturopath, who had mold exposure in her home, and she had listed all the symptoms, and then I kind of realised that the mold had possibly contributed to a lot of things, made a lot of things worse for me. And mold is quite insidious, and it's quite difficult to kind of get out of your body. So I gained all that weight, like 15 kilos, and then gained more, because when we moved into this house, I stopped exercising. And so that's been 5 years. And so I stopped walking, basically, partly because I just didn't have the energy. It made me feel not good. Anxiety as well about going walking, like the irritable bowel stuff. There's just a whole bunch of things, and I just stopped. And so the energy became quite a big part of that for me too. And so since that time, when I have tried to exercise, it's just felt like wading through concrete, really, really like just no energy, and just made me feel like shit, basically. What I'm realizing now is that the oxalates were probably playing a part in that, because when you exercise, it can cause your body to release more oxalate into the bloodstream. So I've been reading Sally Norton's book, Toxic Superfoods, and it's putting so many pieces together. I'm going to do some videos and read some pieces out of this, because it is just amazing the impact that oxalates can have on your body, and it's making things make sense for me with my journey, because I was such a big plant-based diet, vegan, vegetarian, and then all the superfoods as they all rolled out, because I was always interested in food, had a real obsession with food, and fixation on learning about and trying new things, that I was into all of that, and because it's supposed to be healthy. And so that was what I was filling my body with, and so my oxalate levels were just obviously going boom, boom, boom. So now that I've been on carnivore diet for nearly 10 months, what I'm finding is that the things that have changed, one thing that's really interesting that's changed is that my face doesn't burn. The last 2 summers in particular, might have been 3, but at least the last 2, I had found that I couldn't go in the sun for any more than about 5 minutes, and my face would just burn. like scarlet, and that was something new. Like that had never really happened before. I mean, when I was younger, my nose would burn sometimes, but I could stay in the sun for a long time, especially if I had a bit of a tan already. I don't really burn normally. And yeah, all of a sudden, and it was my face in particular. Like I could be out there with my arms and legs, not as much of a problem, but my face would just burn. And that's changed, so that's gone. I can get out there, and I was out there yesterday for about an hour or so, standing face to the sun, and it felt like my face down the side was getting a little bit burnt, but gone today. So that is completely different. And I had kind of put that down. I thought it might have been vegetable oils, but didn't eat that much of those vegetable oils. Just some potato chips here and there, and some peanuts. That was about it. Because I generally avoided all of those types of processed kind of vegetable oils. So yeah, it wasn't that; it was the oxalate. I'm figuring, and the things that make me kind of think, it's like, I don't even know how to kind of explain this, but Sally talks about how your body will put oxalate into different areas to store it because it's a poison. It can kill you. If you have too much in one go, it can kill you, and people have died from eating high oxalate plants like sorrel, or been hospitalized from things like rhubarb because they're really so high in oxalate. And so because it's a poison, and if your body needs to get it out of your bloodstream, it'll store it in places. And this is why we start dumping oxalate when our blood levels of oxalate get low. So like we go onto a carnivore diet or start eating less of those high oxalate plants, our body will start pulling it out of those areas and flushing it out through the bowel, through the bladder, sometimes through the skin. And so I think that for some reason my body was storing oxalate in particular in this region because I was getting nosebleeds almost daily. And now I've realised that when I start oxalate dumping, that's quite often a signal before I start noticing other symptoms, is that I'll get a nosebleed, because I might, like this most recent one, I didn't have a nosebleed for probably, 2 weeks. Maybe longer, and then all of a sudden I had this beauty nosebleed, and then was oxalate dumping the next day. I had diarrhea, lots of body aches and pains, anxiety, just generally feeling like shit. So, and I keep scratching. I've got a scalp thing going on that's been going on now for about 3 or 4 months, and I'm not sure whether that's to do with oxalates or whether it's deficiency. I've been listening to Elliot. Can't remember what his name is. He's a functional medicine practitioner, I think, in the UK. He's got a YouTube channel, and he's saying that sometimes it can be a deficiency of biotin or riboflavin. And that eating kidney and liver and stuff can help. So I'm trying to find ways to get those into my diet, because I don't like offal at all. But I did buy, and I actually bought some pate. I forgot to look at the supermarket for liver or chicken livers. And so we went to a little shop down the road when we got home from shopping yesterday, and I just bought some chicken liver pate. It's got some antioxidants and stuff in it, preservative or something in it. But I thought I'll try it and see if I can even manage the taste, because if I can eat that processed garbage one out of the shop, I could probably make one that I will actually really like. And it was actually okay. It tasted okay. So I'm going to see if I can get some chicken livers to start with, and try and make some pate to get that into my diet at least 2 or 3 times a week, and see if that helps. So the skin has changed, not burning. The bowel issue is so much better. Like most of the time, I still have my little moments when I'm oxalate dumping, or have too much histamine. They're the things that I've realised set it off, and I'm getting a lot better at managing those. With the oxalate, I'm trying to decide how best to manage that, because I've tried a few different things. The thing that seemed to help the most was having some potato. Not every day, but a few times a week. I was doing that before Christmas. But then that's the carbohydrates, and of just the last few weeks, I have to confess that I've been eating some grapes, because we have this huge grapevine on our fence, and it was absolutely loaded this year, and I managed to avoid them for quite a long time, and then it just got a bit much, and so I tried a few, and when I tried the first few, wasn't so keen, and then I had some more the next day, and then obviously developed the taste for them again. And so I've been eating them off and on, so I might eat some for 3 days, and then I'll go, that's it, I'm not having any more, and I won't have any for a week or so, and then I'll be like, oh well, I'll just have a few. And I've been finding, I think they must have a bit of oxalate in them, because they seem to be helping me, probably because they're an older variety and they've got seeds in them, so they've probably got a bit, and they seem to be helping with the oxalate dumping as well when I'm having them. And then when I stop having them, as I did last week, and I didn't have any for probably a week or a week and a half, and then ended up with a massive dump of oxalates 2 or 3 days ago. I just felt like crap, and so I need to decide on make a plan for managing these oxalates, because I'm getting back into some more fasting, so I can finally, that's the other thing, is I'm finally finding that I can fast again, so I can go do 1 meal a day without any issue when I'm working. So I tend to do it during the week at this stage, and then just eat in the weekends. Quite often I'll have lunch and dinner in the weekends, not always, but sometimes. But I'm finding that I don't get as hungry, and I'm exercising, so that's awesome. So I'm going to try and stretch my fasting out and see if I can get myself into a pattern off and on of doing some 40 and 48 hour fasts, and potentially some rolling 48s, or doing alternate day fasting, that sort of thing, to get this weight off, because I've set myself a goal to lose between 20 and 25 kilos this year, before my birthday at the beginning of next year, my 60th. And so I'm not sure. I've had some almonds today, because I was thinking I've got almonds and I've got cashews in the fridge from 10 months ago, before I started on Carnivore, and so I was thinking I could have a handful of those each day or every couple of days, and that will probably help to manage it. But when I had the almonds today, they gave me an ulcer on my tongue, so I'm picking that my body doesn't really like them, I don't think. Whereas the potato, we've got potatoes in the veggie garden, and so I don't know. I'll see. I'll talk about that next time. But yeah, I need to manage this for a while, because I think I've got a lot of oxalate stored up in my body. Obviously a lot less than what I had, but I think there's still a lot there. So I need to be able to manage that somehow, so I don't have all these miserable, horrible days like I had the other day. And the other thing is to do with the exercise. So because I finally have got energy to exercise. This is an absolute miracle, because as I said before, I used to be exercise junkie, and then basically ended up stopping, because for a whole bunch of reasons, and part of that was just no energy. I just didn't have the energy to exercise, whereas now it's starting to feel like exercising, and it makes me feel good most of the time. So what I've actually done is gone back to doing aerobics old style. So there's a whole bunch of aerobics old style videos on YouTube. Retro aerobics is what they've got on some of them, which cracks me up. And so that aerobics lifestyle is the way I've always got back into exercise when I've stopped for a period of time. That's the way I've always got back into it. I first started doing them when I was in my early 20s. I did aerobics on TV, with them on TV for a while, because they used to be on all over the world, aerobics lifestyle, did lots of different countries. And so I did it for a couple of years before we went to Australia, and then I got in a really bad way with my health when we went to Australia, the first 5 years there. And then, as I said before, when I quit smoking when I was 30, I started doing aerobics again with them on TV, and that was how I kind of got into exercising and weight loss then. So they're only 20-minute shows, most of them, which is just, it almost ends up being, especially when you're doing the higher impact stuff, it almost ends up being like a bit of a HIIT workout, because you're kind of going up and then there's a break, and then you're going up and then there's a break, and then you're warming up and stretching at the end. So It's not too long, and but it can be fairly full on, some of them, for that, 10 or 15 minutes or whatever that you're doing the high intensity workouts. And I'm doing some of the body conditioning workouts as well to build up some muscle. And I'm doing some weights as well. I've just started doing some weights just the last week or so. Did a full-on weight workout last Monday. Oh my God, Wednesday I was so sore. I was just like, oh God, I haven't been like this for a long time. But it feels good. It feels good. It makes you feel like more upright. I've really, really disliked feeling weak. I like to feel strong. There's nothing like feeling strong. It makes life so much easier. And so I'm absolutely feeling really excited and really blessed to be able to be back into doing some exercise and doing some strength training. Yes. So that for me is probably the best part of this diet at the moment so far, is to be able to, getting emotional, is to be able to get back to doing that. So yeah, not every day is awesome, but some days are. And when I did it this morning, I did aerobics this morning, and I actually feel like I got just a little bit of bounce in my step when I was doing it. And that's the thing, is like all those years of doing it, and I could jump, and it was just, I just felt, I remember a friend said to me, she said, you're really bouncy. And I'd completely lost that. Felt heavy, flat, just like it was like moving concrete to trying to do these fucking aerobics programs. Whereas today there was just a little bit of and it's like, cool. So so that's where I am with the exercise side of things. My skin is getting a lot better. I still have days where it kind of claps out. I get pimples and things, but not like I was, not as often as I was. Because this is the thing, is like you start on this diet, and I've told some family members that I'm doing it, and I've told some clients that are kind of friends that I'm doing it as well, and they think I'm nuts. Like, you can tell that they think I'm nuts. And then when they don't see any weight loss, and then they see my skin getting worse, and I was just, at the beginning of Carnivore, I was really looking like crap, and they see that, and I can tell that they think I'm doing the wrong thing. And so that's why this year I'm determined to get myself into better shape, looking like this, being able to see the results of this diet. I can feel them. And that's the thing, is like, as I was talking to my husband, because my husband's eating a high meat diet as well, but he still has some organic sourdough bread that I make for him at lunchtime, because he's a bread junkie, and he has more fruit than me. And because he has it most of the time at night time, whereas I've just been going through little stages with the grapes, and I was doing some blueberries to try and manage my oxalate dumping as well for a while. But he's the same. Like, he's back doing some weight training and putting on some muscle, and because he got really, really skinny, and he's putting some muscle on. And like, I was talking to him yesterday, and I said, it's frustrating because people were looking from the outside and going, oh, she stopped eating veggies and she still looks like shit and she hasn't lost any weight, but they can't feel what I feel inside. And that's what frustrates me, is because I want to, can't wait for what I'm feeling on the inside to show on the outside, basically. And so that's my goal for this year, is to really get that showing on the outside. You see all these young ones that go onto the carnivore diet, and they, there's some that I follow on YouTube, and they've been doing it the same amount of time as me, and they've lost all this weight, and they look so good. And, but it's an age thing. It's a previous diet thing, the oxalates. I want to do lots of videos about oxalates, because the people need to know about it, because even like there's things that predispose you to having issues with oxalates, but even people who don't have those things going on with them, if they are eating high oxalate foods, the oxalates are eventually going to get them. They are, because if you're eating too much, your body is going to store it, and it's going to cause problems. And so people need to know. And I've tried to talk. I tell people, like some of my clients, about it, those who know what I'm doing. And again, you can see them kind of, yeah, whatever. So I need to look like I know what I'm talking about as well, I guess, because I think that helps people make judgments on what they see. So yeah, so that's where I am. I feel like I'm rabbiting on, but hopefully I'm making sense, and I think that's all that I wanted to say today. So I'll put a link to Sally Norton's book underneath the video, and I will talk to you again another day, and watch out for some videos to do specifically with oxalates, because I'm going to be talking about that as well. It's something that people really need to know about. Okay, so if you like this video, if you found it useful, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with anyone you think might be useful, and I'll talk to you again another day. Okay, bye.